The subcommittee will come to order. Last week, the Secretary of the Air Force, Frank Kendall, stated, "The intelligence couldn't be clearer. China is preparing for a war, and specifically for a war with the United States." So if we took this warning from the Secretary of the Air Force seriously, and thereby got serious about preventing a war with China, preventing World War III, a war that has the potential to make previous world wars look restrained in comparison, we would immediately shift the Pentagon away from a posture optimized for peacetime efficiency and onto a war footing. We would embrace that basic paradox that to avoid a war, we have to adopt a war footing. Obviously, this is very hard to do in a free society like that in America. Once we get moving, once the crisis occurs, America has a special talent for mobilizing and beating totalitarian regimes that struggle to deal with friction, but the abiding weakness of free peoples is that our governments cannot or will not make us prepare or sacrifice before we are aroused, to quote a famous statement from the Korean War. Thus, even as the horrors of war ravage Europe, in my opinion, we have not mobilized to prevent a war in the Pacific. We have not moved to maximum production rates of long-range precision fires. And in 1 week, $11 billion of previously appropriated defense money from previous years, money we've already given to the Defense Department, is going to evaporate. It will turn into a pumpkin on midnight on September 30th if we do not act. We have hundreds of Pentagon innovation projects that sound great and are well-intentioned, but seem, for whatever reason, not to solve the basic problem. And I know this because every year I attend the Reagan National Defense Forum, and I listen to different secretaries of defense giving the exact same speech about the Valley of Death and all the problems with the acquisition bureaucracy, and yet the problem persists. And then I attend the exact same innovation dinners with the exact same innovation people, and we all sit there inveighing against the primes and the broken acquisition culture. To quote Bill Murray's character in Groundhog Day, "I wake up every day right here, right in Punxsutawney, and it's always February 2nd, and there's nothing I can do about it." So today, we're lucky to have three defense leaders to help us make sense of this and help us escape Groundhog Day. They represent three companies at different stages of defense development. Jim Takelent is the CEO of Lockheed Martin, Brian Schimpf is the CEO of Anduril Industries, and Richard Jenkins is the CEO of Saildrone. Sincerely, thank you all for being here. We know how busy you are. We had originally conceived of this as a hearing where we would have two sort of big defense primes and two non-prime companies. It may shock you to learn this, Mr. Takelent, that not all of your peers were eager to testify before Congress. Some, in fact, told us that none of the dates we offered could work. We then asked them to name whatever date worked for them, and they said, "Just kidding, we'll only testify before the full committee," but had refused previously to do just that. I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are. And others are just nervous about having a discussion with Congress. So I think it speaks well of all of you and your companies and the culture you've built that you're willing to engage with us in a dialogue today. And I promise you, we're all very nice on this committee. All I ask today is for your candor. Tell us in simple and direct language that an ordinary American can understand, meaning no acronyms, what we need to do to fix this problem, what we need to do to turbocharge our innovation enterprise in defense, what we need to do to defibrillate a sclerotic defense industrial base, and thereby prevent war, which is the business we are all in. We cannot keep wasting time. And before I turn it over to the ranking member, I'd like to take this opportunity to invite Deputy Secretary Hicks to headline our next city hearing on her newly announced Replicator initiative and how that can turbocharge innovation and enhance deterrence. I want Replicator to work. I want to understand it better. And though we are just a humble subcommittee, I would submit that this is the best forum to have a serious, sober conversation about how to make it work. This is when I would turn it over to the ranking member